Good morning, good afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome to this Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership webinar on promoting wood culture. I'm delighted to join you today in my capacity as a new director of the FCLP Secretariat. It's a privilege for me to support this partnership and its collective ambition for forest, climate, and people. So the FCLP was born out of the Glasgow Leaders Declaration on Forest and Land Use, which was launched at COP26 in 2021. Over 145 world leaders representing more than 90% of the world forest committed to halting and reversing forest loss and land degradation by 2030. In 2022 at COP27, world leaders formally launched the Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership, a voluntary high-ambition coalition of countries determined to accelerate progress towards that 2030 goal. The FCLP brings together countries with significant forests, strong climate leadership, and major roles in commerce and finance. Through international collaboration and national action, members work to find common solutions and align efforts for greater impact. From the beginning, FCLP members acknowledge the pivotal role of the public sector in driving green construction, including by shaping enabling policies and fostering international cooperation. In COP28 in December 2023, 17 FCLP member countries launched a coalition on greening construction with sustainable wood as part of the Ministerial Buildings Breakthrough. These countries committed to advancing policies and approaches by 2030, and policies and approaches in particular that support low carbon construction and promote the use of wood from sustainably managed forests. This will contribute to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and increasing carbon storage in the built environment. But achieving this vision requires more than technical solutions. It calls for a cultural shift. And that's why the coalition is also working to foster a broader wood culture, encouraging societies to embrace wood as a climate-friendly material. This includes supporting sustainable forest management, enabling a circular forest bioeconomy, and driving a transition to construction practices. Today, we have the opportunity to hear directly from government and industry leaders in Japan, Australia, Korea, and Fiji. I'm really looking forward to learning from their experiences, from their successes, and from the challenges they face in promoting wood in construction. Thank you all again for joining, and I'm pleased now to hand over to today's moderator, Dr. Joseph Morrow, Director of International Forest Policy at Australia's Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry.
Thank you, Ms. Shani. My thanks to the Secretariat. As mentioned, I'll be your moderator today. To begin with, I'd like to ask Mr. Kayotaki Koshi, Director of International Forestry Cooperation Office in the Forestry Agency of the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, to provide some opening remarks. Mr. Kayushi, we cannot hear you. Still nothing, Mr. Kayushi.
Can you hear?
We can now, thank you.
Okay. Again, thank you very much for the kind introduction, Dr. Morrow. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this webinar. I'm very pleased to have you with us today. First of all, we would like to sincerely thank Ms. Cheney, Director of the FCLP Secretariat, and her staff for their support and coordination. We also extend our appreciation to our co-organizers from Australia, Fiji, and Korea. This webinar is part of the activities under the Green Construction with Sustainable Wood initiative, which is included in Action Area 1 of the Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership. As a member of the FCLP, we are committed to accelerating progress towards the global goal of halting and reversing deforestation and land degradation by 2030. Each of us contributes to this goal from our respective roles. However, we share a common challenge in promoting the use of wood. There are still public perceptions that using wood contributes to deforestation and forest degradation, and that wood buildings are vulnerable to fire, earthquakes, and other risks. To address this challenge and promote wood culture, today's webinar focuses on two key themes. First, measures, activities, and policies to promote wood use in each country. Second, the benefits of wood construction and promoting its awareness. Three speakers will share their insights and experiences on these topics. After the presentation, there will be a brief Q&A session and an opportunity to exchange views. We hope today's exchange of information and good practices will offer new ideas and practical solutions. Thank you very much again for your participation and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kochi. We have a very full agenda today with a wealth of presenters. I will keep us to time and give notice to presenters with 2 minutes to go in their allotted period. To support that, I'd like to take the opportunity on behalf of all of our presenters and our speakers today to thank the Government of Japan for their support in organizing this webinar. As Mr. Kochi mentioned, we have answers at the end of all presentations, so please do use the question and answer function. As noted in the waiting slide, this is being recorded for minute purposes. Our first presenter on the theme of measures, activities, and policies to promote wood use is Dr. Jun Fukuda, Director of Wood Product Industry Division from the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. Dr. Fukuda was awarded his PhD in 2012 from the University of Tokyo, which was his undergraduate alma mater, following his master's from the University of Washington in Seattle. Dr. Fukuda has had a distinguished career with the Japanese government and has had senior roles in the forestry area from 2007. Dr. Fukuda, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Sorry. Hello, do you hear me? Is that all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. So thank you, Mr. Moro, and good morning and afternoon, everyone. This is Jun Fukuda from Japan Forestry Agency. It is my great honor to make a presentation on wood use promotion in Japan in today's webinar. So please go ahead, please. Sure. In my presentation, I will briefly introduce general background of Japan forest and forestry, and then explain wood products used in Japan, finalizing with some conclusion. both forest and forestry in Japan. As you can see on the map on the right, 66% of Japan's land area is covered with forest. 40% of forest area, or 10 million hectares, are forests planted by humans with seedling. Major species of planted forests are coniferous species, including suji, hinoki, and karamatsu. In contrast, natural forests are composed of various non-coniferous species. Next, please. As you can see in the left figure, the volume of Japan's forest stock is estimated at 5.6 billion cubic meters. Among them, 3.6 billion cubic meters is in planted forest, which are planted by humans with seedling. The volume of forest stock is steadily increasing, and annual growth is as much as 60 million cubic meters. The right figure shows that roughly half of planted forests are older than 50 years, already mature for harvesting for wood use. In order to promote sustainable use of forest resources, the Japanese government is promoting wood use, particularly in domestic wood. Next, please. Next, I'd like to move on to wood use in Japan. In Japan, the volume of annual wood demand is approximately 80 million cubic meters, or 0.64 cubic meters per capita. Until around the year 2000, most of Japan's wood demand was satisfied with imported wood. In fact, the ratio of domestic wood supply, shown as the red line in the left figure, was as low as 18.8% in 2002. But after that, the volume of domestic wood supply, shown as green area, more than doubled from 17 million cubic meters in 2002 to 34 million cubic meters in 2023, and the ratio of domestic wood jumped to 43%. This dramatic increase is mostly attributed to three factors. First, maturing of domestic forest resources. Second, technical development for efficient use of small diameter timber for private production. And third, governmental assistance to investment in large-scale lumber mills and private mills. The right figure shows that the ratio of domestic wood varies among wood use sectors, divided into lumber, plywood, pulp and chip, plywood, and others. Domestic wood is colored with green, imported logs with yellow, and imported product with red. The ratio of domestic wood is particularly high in the lumber sector at 56%, as low as 17% in the pulp and chip sector. Next, please. In Japan, housing is the most significant sector for wood use. The share of wooden structure in housing started exceptionally high in the world. As shown in the left figure, the ratio of wooden housing to all housing, shown as the red line, remained around 55% for more than 15 years. The right figure shows the floor area of residential and non-residential construction starts by the number of stories. The orange area shows wooden building, and the gray area shows non-wooden building. So if you look at low-rise 3 stories or lower residential sector in the red dotted box, 80% of floor area is built with wooden structure. In contrast, most of low-rise non-residential sector in the blue dotted box on the right and medium to high-rise sector, 4 stories or higher in the green dotted box, are built with non-wood materials like steel or reinforced concrete. Next, please. The most popular method for Japan's wooden housing is the traditional post and beam structure shown on the left figure, in which structural frame is composed of vertical and horizontal lumbers. Those lumbers are connected by traditional curved joint system shown on the right figure. In general, the post and beam housing uses 0.2 cubic meter of wood for 1 square meter of floor area. In contrast to higher ratio of wooden structure in the housing sector, non-residential buildings are mostly built with steel or reinforced concrete. In fact, the government the government promoted a non-wooden building structure for public building after World War II in order to prevent fire and disaster. But in the year 2010, the government introduced the law for the promotion of wood use in public building. The law obliged the central and local governments to promote wooden structure and wooden interior decoration in public building as long as possible. Thereafter, the ratio of wooden structure in low-rise public building rose from 18% in 2010 to 31% in 2023, as shown in right figure. Next, please. In 2021, the law was revised to the Law for the Promotion of Wood Use in General Building, expanding its scope to cover private building as well as public buildings. The revised law introduced a voluntary wood use promotion contract system in which the central government, local governments, and the private entities declare to promote wood use cooperatively. Based on the contract, the government will provide necessary assistance to the contracted parties. As described at the bottom of the left side, the revised law designates the day of October 8th as the National Wood Use Promotion Day because the Chinese letter of wood can be divided into letters of number 10 and number 8. Next, please. Next issue is medium to high-rise wooden building. Structural members in medium to high-rise building are required to satisfy specific fire resistance performance which are stipulated in the building standard law. As shown in the right table, one level fire resistance performance required for structural materials which are applied to first to fourth floors from the uppermost floor, for instance. In order to satisfy these requirements, private construction companies have already developed high-performance fire-resistant wooden materials which are covered with fire-resistant layers of incombustible materials as shown in the left figures. Please.
Minutes, Dr. Fukuda.
Such fire-resistant wooden materials have made it possible to build many medium to high-rise buildings with wooden structures. In 2022, purely wooden high-rise building with 11 floors named Port Plus was constructed in Yokohama. Next, please. CLT is another breakthrough for the medium to high-rise wooden building. As you may know, CLT, or cross-laminated timber, has advantages of short construction period, lightweight, and high insulation performance. Since 2014, the Japanese government has been promoting the use of CLT under the official strategy of the roadmap for the promotion of CLT as shown in the left table. Also, large amount of CLT is used in the Japan Pavilion of the 2025 Osaka Kansai World Exhibition, which started last month in Osaka as shown in right figures. Next, please. Next, I'd like to turn to the dissemination of significance of wood use. Since 2005, the government has been promoting the significance of wood use to the general public through the national drive named Kizukai, which has double meaning of both wood use and due consideration in Japanese. The government is also cooperating with the private sector for wood use promotion, such as Wood Design Award for consumer-oriented wood products or wood education for small children. Also, Japan's major private corporation established Wood Change Council for the promotion of wooden construction and interiors. Next, please. Then I'd like to move on to sustainability issue. In the construction sector, wood use is expected to contribute to the carbon neutral society, as well as environmental, social, and governance (ESG) investment. Last year, the Forestry Agency developed the evaluation guidance of wood use in building for construction companies to appeal their efforts of wood use to financial institutions. The guidance presents the methodology of evaluation on contribution to carbon neutrality, sustainable use of resources, and realization of comfortable environment as shown in the table below. Next, please. The guidance also presents the unit value of GHG emission from the production of wood product as shown in this page. Next, please. I'd like to finalize with some conclusion. In Japan, most of wood demand depends on the housing sector. However, the number of housing starts will drop sharply in accordance with the decline in population. In order to secure wood demand in Japan, wood use needs to be promoted in non-residential building and medium to high-rise building. Regarding non-residential building, the revised law for the promotion of wood use in general building promotes wood use in private sector as well as public sector. Regarding medium to high-rise building, fire-resistant wooden materials already enabled to build wooden high-rise building. The use of CLT is also expected. Development of consumer awareness on sustainable wood use is also important. Given the higher attention on sustainability of building in the construction sector, the advantages of wood use, including fossil fuel substitution and carbon storage, need to be further promoted for further use of wood in building. Next, please. Finally, I'd like to show you my specialty in Japan's wood culture. This photo is a traditional art of lumber rolling, not log rolling, a legacy of a former professional who was specialized in water surface transportation of wood in Tokyo. And actually, this photo is myself. If you are interested in this performance, you can take a look at the movie through QR code shown below. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Fukuda. That last slide and your efforts to do that stand on a very narrow piece of wood is truly impressive. As is Japan's commitment to self-sufficiency in wood fiber. And it's very impressive the actions that the government of Japan has taken in making sure that the value of wood is clear to the construction sector. Our second presenter on the theme of promoting wood use is Ms. Katie Stokes. She is the Assistant Director of the International Forest Policy and AgVet Chemical Teams in the Australian Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. And Ms. Stokes has over 12 years experience in the Australian government policy spanning both agriculture, climate change, and for the last 6 years, specialising in Australia's international forests. Ms. Stokes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I'll just share my screen. Okay, thank you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to express my gratitude to the Government of Japan and the FCLP Secretariat for their efforts in organising this event today. My name's Katie Stokes. I work at the Australian Government Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry on international forest policy matters, and I'm really pleased to be able to be part of this event today. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Australia's supporting policy and regulatory environment to enable the increasing use of wood products, including in the construction sector. I'll go over the key Australian government policies and regulatory approaches that support increased wood use and touch on some specific approaches the Australian government takes to encourage wood use in construction. And then I'll briefly mention a few international initiatives that we see as significant in advancing this work. The Australian government recognises the needs and benefits for increasing the use of sustainably sourced forest products. As we drive efforts internationally towards sustainable consumption and production, and we increasingly move towards a circular economy, we're all really aware of the invaluable role that forests and forest products can play. Forest products, when sourced sustainably, are renewable. They're able to store carbon and can offset other more emissions-intensive materials such as steel and concrete in construction. And at the heart of this lies sustainable forest management. Australia is a really strong advocate for sustainable forest management and has comprehensive legislation in place to maintain forest ecology, biological diversity, and the full range of environmental, economic, and social benefits across all forest uses. A key part of increasing wood product use globally is ensuring that we've got an adequate supply of wood And that's about increasing our wood use, increasing wood use doesn't inadvertently lead to increased deforestation or forest degradation rates. The FAO projects that wood fibre demand may grow by as much as 50% by 2050 and take up to 33 million hectares of new plantations to meet. And given that it takes time to grow our wood resources, we need to plan now for tomorrow. Internationally, there's a need for increased emphasis on policies and programs that will ensure timber fibre security. The other enabling factor that I'd really like to emphasise is the need to drive research and innovation of forest resources and forest products to make the most of each and every part of our wood fibre resources, and to work to develop new climate-smart forest products. The Australian Government has a number of key initiatives that focus on ensuring sustainable supply of forest products and promoting research and innovation in the forest industry. The Support Plantation Establishment Program aims to expand our domestic supply of timber, particularly our construction and manufacturing timber resources, while at the same time contributing to Australia's carbon emissions reduction targets and supporting regional communities through retaining and creating regional jobs. To further support a sustainable timber supply, since 2012, Australia has had comprehensive illegal logging prohibition laws in place. Our laws combat illegal logging and promote the trade of legal and sustainable timber products in Australia. We've recently updated these laws to ensure that they remain fit for purpose and align with international best practice, including implementing new provisions to allow for timber testing and verify claims of species and origin. On the research and innovation side, the Accelerate Adoption of Wood Processing Innovation Program supports the medium to long-term sustainability of wood processes by stimulating investment in upgrades to manufacturing lines and supporting innovation to domestic products. By supporting wood processing facilities to use innovative technologies in their production, Australia's forest industry will be able to supply more of our wood demands into the future. We've also established an Australia-wide National Institute for Forest Products Innovation, which is known as the Australian Forest and Wood Innovations. The institute was developed in partnership between the Australian Government and the University of Tasmania. The institute focuses on transformative research, development and innovation for our timber industry, while also supporting the training and development of forest industry's researchers. From the first round of funding, the initiative is investigating themes around climate change solutions, making the most of our wood fibre, and supporting the sustainable management of forests. The government's also invested in 11 regional forestry hubs that provide strategic planning, technical assessments, and analysis to support growth in the forest industries within their regions. The hubs also include extension services that enable them to inform local industries and landholders of the outcomes of research and innovation work, in particular from the Australia-wide National Institute of Forest Products Innovation. Through this innovation and technology, we're committed to maximising the use of the resources that we have and in turn minimising waste. And at a broader level, the government's also helping Australia's forest industry to plan for the future by working with stakeholders to review Australia's 1992 National Forest Policy Statement to ensure it's contemporary and meets Australia's future wood and fibre needs. Also, next to this, we're working with industry to develop a timber fibre strategy looking to the future. Honing in a little bit on wood in construction, Australia is supporting a number of initiatives that encourage the use of wood in construction. These include the Australian Research Council's Research Hub for Advanced Timber, which was launched in July 2022 with an Australian government contribution of $3 million. The Advanced Timber Hub aims to stimulate rapid growth in timber innovation in the mid-rise building market, which could transform Australia's timber processing sector, construction sector, and the experiences of building occupants, and even the lifespan of buildings themselves. The Hub aims to develop resources, enablers, and drivers to advance sustainable timber and to be the material of choice, leading towards a net zero future for Australia's built environment. The $300 million Clean Energy Finance Corporation investment in the Timber Building Program aims to accelerate the use of mass timber construction across Australia to help cut embodied emissions and contribute to Australia's goal of net zero emissions by 2050. The program aims to develop local skills and expertise, as well as supply chains and delivery capabilities, all of which can catalyse more timber-based building activity in the future. And also worth mentioning here is the Australian government's current development plans to help major sectors transform to net zero economy in support of Australia's net zero plan. Under this initiative, the government's working to build a built environment sector plan to provide a pathway for the sector to transition to net zero, taking a holistic approach, which will include considering embodied carbon emissions in construction materials. The final point I wanted to touch on is the importance of international efforts to highlight the immense value of increasing the use of sustainable forest products, such as this one. I'd also like to emphasise several other programs that Australia sees really beneficial in this space, including the Collaborative Partnership on Forests Sustainable Wood for a Sustainable World initiative, which showcases the full value of sustainable wood value chains. The Wood for Globe in the margins of World Forest Week last year also focused on sustainable wood pathways and their role in achieving carbon neutrality and resilience. And finally, Austria's country and organisation-led initiative, which aims to promote a sustainable forest-based bioeconomy through evidence-based innovative approaches for knowledge sharing and accelerated actions. The COLI aims to scale up sustainable wood pathways, including the enabling conditions to ensure sustainable supply keeps pace and to accelerate the bioeconomy approaches and wood-based solutions. Just in summary, I'd just like to re-emphasise that Australia is committed to a low-emissions circular economy that's built on sustainable wood products. We emphasise the need to consider the broader operating environment for increasing wood use, including continued research, innovation, and strategic investment in plantations and processing to lay the groundwork for a sustainable climate-smart forest sector and to help incentivise the increased use of wood in the built environment. And finally, we highlight the use and value of strong international partnerships to help navigate the future wood fibre demand in a sustainable manner that balances economic, social, and environmental values for forests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Stokes. Now, noting my obvious bias, but the efforts of the Australian government to ensure wood remains at the forefront of construction options is substantial, as have been Japan's, and I'm sure what we'll hear from Korea. Our final presenter for promoting wood use is Mr. Sung Jin Lee, Director of the Wood Industry Division of the Korean Forest Service. Mr. Lee, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Pleased to meet you, and thank you very much for hosting this webinar. And it's my great pleasure to having a chance to participate in. My name is Sung-Jin Lee. I'm the Director in Timber Industry Division of Korea Forest Service. And let me introduce Korea's wood use promotion policy, which our service is recently concentrating on to enhance carbon neutrality and sustainable forest management. By the way, the building shown in the photo is called the National Forest Satellite Information Technology Center, and it is a special one because it was constructed using GLTs made from damaged trees in a forest fire. And as you may have heard of, we just had a tragic forest fire area of more than 100,000 hectares in this April. So right now we are trying to figure out the ways to utilize forest fire damaged trees as well. And here's the outline of my presentation. Let me start with an overview of Korea's forests and wood resources, and then I'll get into our efforts to raise public awareness, Korean wood architecture, and promotion policies, and conclude with how Korea is spreading its wood culture. So firstly, let me introduce Korea's forests and wood. Just about 60 years ago, Korea had barren mountains and forests, just you can see on the upper part. Korea has had a strong legacy of reforestation, planting around 12 billion trees since the 1970s. And as a result, our growing stock has increased drastically from just 10 cubic meters per hectare in 1970, but it has come to 165 cubic meters in 2020. However, we are now facing new challenges, such as an aging forest structure, just like the low fertility rate Korea is now facing, and which reduces our forest carbon absorption capacity per year. And additionally, since Korea has gone through a very determined reforestation era, misconceptions about timber harvesting were created, and this has led to low timber uses in Korea. And currently, we're harvesting only about 20% of our productive capacity per year, which is much lower than other OECD countries. And to address climate change, Korea has committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 compared to 2018. And forests will contribute 11% of this target through carbon sinks, afforestation, and increase of wood use. And Korea's strategy involves using forests not just for carbon storage, but also as a substitute for fossil fuel incentive materials. And we aim to create a circular forestry resource management system from tree planting to sustainable harvesting and utilization. And as you're well aware, we're trying to increase the use of wood, such as in wooden construction, in order to reduce the carbon in the atmosphere that has increased since the Industrial Revolution. And since Korea has difficulties with misconceptions of harvesting wood, as I mentioned, we are firstly focusing on increasing wood use in everyday life. So we've launched public campaigns such as I Love Wood, including children's drawing contests, culture festivals, and social media outreach. These initiatives are aimed to raise awareness of domestic timber's environmental benefits. And we're also promoting public buildings made of domestic wood. For example, daycare centers and libraries. And we hope that citizens can see and feel the positive effects of wood, such as improved indoor air quality. Also, wood experience programs are expanding, offering hands-on learning in schools and communities through workshops and after-school classes. And to unify domestic wood branding, we created the Han Wood label, combining the Korean word for Korea Han and the Chinese character for wood. This is meant to help Korean consumers easily identify certified local timber. We are hosting annual wood industry and construction exhibitions to showcase advancements and potentialities in wood-based architecture and trying to promote wood's role in achieving carbon neutrality. And although it has begun rather recently, Korea is investing in modern wooden buildings. For example, the Korea Forest Welfare Education Center is a 7-story structure, which is currently the highest in Korea. And it is built with over 1,300 cubic meters of wood. And it is storing more than 1,200 tons of CO2. And other examples include Seoul National University's engineering building and the National Forest Satellite Center, which reuse damaged wood from forest fire, as I mentioned in the title page. There are also award-winning buildings like the Second Chance Library on the left, and which demonstrates how wood can be a beautiful and sustainable building material. And on the right is the Seongwon Clubhouse in the golf course in Gangwon District in Korea. And our wood use promotion policies aim to increase uses of domestic wood, especially with the manner of cascading principle and improve its distribution. And we are revising concrete bias regulations to support wooden construction and developing engineered wood products, and we're also expanding the carbon storage labeling system for Korean wood products. And we're also piloting wood-based city models and urban infrastructure, such as bus stops and public facilities built with wood to store carbon and raise public engagement. In addition, we are now drafting a wooden building promotion law to provide a legal foundation for wood architecture promotion. And this includes tax benefits, regulatory supports, and education of professionals in such industry. The new legislation also emphasizes interagency cooperation between the Korea Forest Service and the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport. We hope that once the law is introduced, policy coordination committee will streamline joint efforts to promote wood architecture across the country. To the domestic timber industry, we are establishing regional wood industry clusters in order to promote equal production and consumption. And we are trying to ensure the full cycle use of forest biomass as well. We are also enhancing quality control and supporting exports to global markets. And finally, we are committed to fostering a vibrant wood culture. We are trying to measure this through a wood culture index, which tracks infrastructure, education, and lifestyle engagement with wood. Our vision is to create valuable and healthy forests that benefit all Korean citizens. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I see similarities so far across the three presenters and the nations that we've heard from in terms of an aging population and the effect this can have on residential construction demands, but also from many of the pictures that we've seen, in particular from Japan and Korea, the incredible architectural ingenuity that wood can achieve. I'd like to remind participants of the Q&A function, and that we will have hopefully some time at the end of the presentations to discuss with our presenters their views on a number of topics. I'd now like us to turn our minds to the second theme of the day, the benefits of wood construction and promoting its awareness. I would like to invite Dr. Sang-Jun Lee, Senior Researcher with the Korean National Institute of Forest Science, to take the floor. Dr. Lee completed their PhD in Seoul National University in 2010 and has over a decade experience in leading and conducting research on wood engineering and wood architecture. Dr. Lee's work shows the potential wood has and what can be imagined for wood uses in the future. Dr. Lee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moro. I prepare my presentation. Oh. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay.
Yes, we can. No problem.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sang-Jun Lee from the National Institute of Forest Science in Korea. Thank you for inviting me, and I'd like to welcome all of you to my presentation. Since I have not much time, so I'll briefly introduce R&D trends and prospects of wooden construction in Korea. This presentation is structured into two main parts. First, I will discuss the background, carbon neutrality, and wood construction. Second, I will introduce key R&D achievements of wood construction in Korea, mainly by our institute. As you may know, the recent changes in climate are being described as a climate crisis or even emergency. Disasters such as forest fires have become global issues. In July of last year, the UN Secretary General officially declared the year of global boiling. Now let's examine the global status of carbon neutrality in the building sector. The building sector accounts for about 40% of total greenhouse gas emissions. This includes emissions from both the operational phase like heating and cooling, and the construction phase. Developed countries such as EU and US are making diverse policy efforts to realize carbon neutrality in this sector. Such efforts are especially being realized through the promotion of high-rise timber buildings. Currently, the tallest timber structure in the world is the Ascent Tower in the US, which stands at 25 stories and 87 meters. With the development of advanced engineered wood products like CLT and various hybrid construction methods, the height of timber buildings have been steadily increasing since around 2010s. Then let me introduce the current situation in Korea. As you see, various types of timber buildings are constructed in Korea. Prior to industrialization and the Korean War, traditional timber housing in the form of we call han oak or post and beam wood construction was the normal. However, since the 1980s, light frame construction methods from North America have become mainstream in Korea with partial applications of heavy timber and truss systems. Let us take a look at the current status of residential buildings in Korea. In conclusion, timber construction in Korea is still largely limited to light frame structures, accounting for only around 6% of all building units. In terms of total floor area, it presents less than 1%. This is mainly due to the rapid spread of reinforced concrete structures during Korea's rapid economic development, especially in urban areas where apartment living has become dominant, replacing timber constructions. Korea is implementing its 2050 carbon neutrality scenario to fulfill international agreements. In the building sector, Korea aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by a significant 88% compared to 2018 levels. To achieve this, the government is enforcing mandatory zero energy standards for new buildings and promoting green remodeling for existing buildings through various policy initiatives. However, it is true that efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from materials and construction processes have been relatively overlooked. As can be seen in the following tables, wood emits far less carbon dioxide compared to other building materials like cement and steel, or in fact, stores carbon. Furthermore, wood is lightweight and allows for dry construction, resulting in lower greenhouse gas emissions during the construction process. The reason for switching timber construction are clear. Wood stores carbon and is the only eco-friendly building material capable of replacing carbon-intensive materials such as concrete and steel, thereby contributing to greenhouse gas reduction. To realize carbon neutrality and improve the quality of life for our citizens, we are actively promoting R&D in timber construction. Then I would like to introduce key R&D achievements of wood construction in Korea, mainly by our institute. Architecture is often described as a comprehensive art form, requiring technological development in various areas such as design, materials, performances, and construction methods. This table summarizes our research team's analysis of Korea's technical level compared to advanced countries. In particular, we have identified the need for localization and technological independence in materials like metal connectors. Despite extensive researches, the lack of real-world applications necessitates further development of construction technologies. Moreover, since reinforced concrete remains the mainstream construction method in Korea, there are regulatory constraints on timber construction. Our research team has made consistent effort to abolish height restrictions for timber buildings. And we also try to allow wooden floor systems in multifamily housing. As a result, it is now possible to build timber apartments in Korea. Now, I will present our key achievements in design, materials, performance, and construction. Let us begin with the design. As shown here, we have established various design standards, such as Korean design specifications, and distributed various manuals to facilitate the design of timber structures in Korea. Regarding materials, as you may know, a wide variety of engineered wood products can be applied in timber construction. In particular, structural glued laminated timber used for post and beam systems and CLT for wall-type mass timber construction are actively being used in Korea's timber buildings. To support the quality and dissemination of these materials, Korean standards have been developed for engineered woods. R&D for localization of timber construction materials are also actively underway. For example, we have developed a Korean-made structural particle board to replace the currently imported OSB, supporting technological self-reliance in Korea. As you can see, the newly developed materials are being verified through real-scale demonstrations. One of the biggest challenges in promoting timber construction is ensuring fire safety performance. To address this, we have established fire resistance design method for each structural components, columns, beams, walls, and floors to enable safe timber construction in case of fire. As a result, in
1 minute to go.
I'm sorry, I hurry. Fire resistance standards for major engineered wood materials were approved. This led to the removal of height restrictions for timber buildings, allowing construction without limitations on scale. I'll skip this one. And finally, from a construction perspective, Korea still lacks extensive construction experience in timber projects. Therefore, we are continuously conducting research into advanced construction technologies, such as the off-site construction. The building you see here, the wood plus tower, is a blueprint proposed by us for realizing the 3N building, new technology, natural material, and net zero. Our goal is to complete the tallest timber structure in Asia in the near future, which will contribute not only to achieving carbon neutrality in Korea, but also to expanding the scale of domestic timber industry in Korea. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. The potential for wood never ceases to amaze me. The key messages I had from that presentation, that zero energy build is a key change for the sector, and the 3N idea, new build, new natural material, and net zero. Hopefully we can follow up on both of those ideas in our question and answer session, because I think they can resonate with a lot of our participants today. Our second speaker on wood construction is Mr. Hiroaki Nishimura, Senior Deputy Director in the Councillor's Office for Building Regulations Housing Bureau in the Japan Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism. Mr. Nishimura is currently responsible for fire safety regulations under the Japanese Building Standards Act. Mr. Nishimura has experience with regulatory reforms, urban planning, policy developments, and was seconded for a period to the Japanese Forestry Agency, where he contributed to the development of cross-laminated timber standards. Mr. Nishimura, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me and speak clearly? Hello,
Yes, we can.
good morning. Hello, good morning and good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm currently a Senior Deputy Director at Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, Tourism, MLIT, and am responsible for building regulation. Today, I'm honored to have this opportunity. I'm going to explain recent rationalization of fire safety and structural building standards for wooden building. Under the Japanese Building Standards Act, a building can be built made of wood, steel frame, and concrete as long as they meet the standards set by law. I'll explain this more in detail. Next slide, please. This is the overview of secondary design introduced in the new seismic standards in 1981. In structure design in Japan, two things are required to be verified. First, the structure does not suffer damage in the elastic range. And second, it does not collapse in the plastic range. The design method for elastic range is called allowable stress design, and the design method for plastic range is called ultimate lateral strength design. And first one, allowable stress design is a primary design, and the design method for this design method verifies the structure will experience no damage during seismic motion, moderate seismic motion. It ensures the forces acting on each structure members do not exceed the allowable stress. The structure is expected to experience no damage during seismic event that occur approximately once every several decades. And next one, ultimate lateral strength design is a secondary design. This design method ensures the structure will not collapse under large-scale seismic motion. It ensures the available lateral load-resisting capacity is equal to or greater than the required lateral load-resisting capacity. The structure is expected to experience no collapse during a seismic event that occurs approximately once every 100 years. Next slide, please. This is the composition of structure-related regulation. The purpose of structure provision is the prevention of collapse due to snow load, wind pressure, and earthquake, and so forth. A small-scale building can be constructed entirely based on prescriptive specification without the need for a structural calculation. However, as the size of building increases, the number of prescriptive specification decreases, and structural calculation becomes necessary. And for skyscraper, more advanced and sophisticated dynamic analysis is required. So there's a trade-off between prescriptive specification and structural calculation. Next slide, please. This is the outline of provision related to fire prevention and evacuation. The Building Standards Act in Japan defines the necessary performance to ensure the safety of building through laws and government ordinance. And furthermore, the verification method for assessing the performance as well as prescriptive example specification that meets the performance criteria are outlined in government ordinance and notices and notification. The target performance level is common across all types of construction, including wooden, steel frame, and reinforced concrete. Let me explain using fire resistance as an example. Please look at the bottom of the slide. Either government ordinance or notification stipulates three ways: advanced verification method and general verification method and example specification. Two of the example specification defined by notification are as follows. The main structure must be a reinforced concrete, or the main structure must be fireproof covered wooden construction. And so the fire resistance construction can be achieved with wood. However, once wood catches fire, it continues to burn and can lead to collapse of the building. So it needs to be covered to prevent ignition. In addition, as shown, whereas as shown in the lower left photo in the slide, if the ceiling is made high enough to prevent the wood from catching fire, it's also possible to expose wood using advanced verification methods. Next slide, please. These developments have been made possible through the amendment so far. Following the 1998 amendment of Building Standards Act in Japan, the fire-resistant structure requirement was amended. The fire-resistant structure requirement had previously been limited to non-combustible materials, but now, if a structure can be shown to stop burning without reignition until fire suppression, it's now permitted to use wood in combination with other materials to form a wood-based fire resistance construction. Next slide, please. This is the difference between fire resistance construction and a quasi-fire resistance construction. In my opinion, I don't know the detailed enforcement in other countries, but the definition of fire resistance construction in other countries may appears to be as the same as the quasi-fire resistance construction in Japan. The fire resistance construction is a structure that does not suffer damage even when exposed to fire heat for a specific period of time. In contrast, quasi-fire resistance construction is a structure that does not suffer damage while being exposed to fire heat for a specific period of time, but allow for such damage to occur after fire exposure has ended. In fire resistant structure, the requirement is for the fire to naturally extinguish. After earthquake, firefighting activities may be insufficient and water supply could be interrupted. The history demonstrates this fact in Japan. And when we look back on the Noto Peninsula earthquake last year, the firefighting activities could be interrupted and water supply couldn't be procured. So Japanese acts take the possibility of the fire following earthquake into account. In the case of wood, there is a risk that combustion may continue even after application of heat or flame has ceased. Therefore, it's difficult to achieve fire resistance construction using so-called exposed wood. However, if methods such as covering the wood with fire protective material, such as plasterboard, are used, it's possible to construct fire resistance construction using wood. In contrast, for quasi-fire resistance construction, it's possible to expose wood because quasi-fire resistance construction is allowed to collapse after a certain period of time. This allows for what is known as a calculation of residual cross-section based on charring. And next slide, please. This slide shows the evolution of timber-related regulation in building standards regulation. Based on full-scale stack table tests, the design method, calculation method for building using CLT have been established. This dates back to 10 years ago when I was seconded to the first agency. Additionally, following full-scale fire tests, the range of building where quasi-fire resistance construction can be applied has increased. In other words, calculation of residual cross-section based on charring can now be used for a wider variety of buildings. Next slide, please. This is the type of building that was originally permitted to constructed as a quasi-fire resistance construction. But due to those buildings, what's required to be
1 minute, Mr. Mishino.
Okay, I skipped this slide. And next slide, please. This is also the examples of quasi-fire resistance construction. due to the amendment of the Building Standards Act. Next slide, please. This is the recent rationalization of the protection regulation that come into effect in April in 2024. Next slide, please. And this is the subsidies MLT provide to increase the number of non-dwelling buildings, high wooden buildings, to promote wooden construction. And next slide, please. And this is the final slide. This is the major example of wooden building with high story heights. I hope this won't be misunderstood, but I'd like to clarify these buildings do not necessarily use the rationalized design method that I explained today, but some of them include only partial use of wood, and some of them are applied to the method that I explained today. However, I do believe that high-rise wooden buildings are definitely increasing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Nishimura. Structural resilience is often one of the greatest weaknesses that spring to mind for people when they're thinking of timber and construction. And it's great to know that this issue can, and with careful planning, design, and engineering, be effectively addressed. Our final presenter for the theme today is Mr. Tevati Bulai, Head of Department and Acting Conservator of Forests in the Fijian Ministry of Forestry. Mr. Bulai has over 25 years' experience in Fijian forestry, with both undergraduate and master's degrees from the University of Canterbury in New Zealand, specialising in forest management. Mr. Bulai, the floor is yours. You're just a little dark, Mr. Bulai. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Are you having access to my presentation?
We can hear you loud and clear. Happy for you to present.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just before I begin, I just want to, I believe my presentation is more into the promotion of wood use, looking at since I'm in the Ministry of Forestry in Fiji, looking at the role and responsibilities of the ministries, mainly focus on the quality of timber, the monitoring of the quality of timber that is coming through the timber industry, and also going out to the timber retailers, specifically for the two major uses of construction and also manufacturing. The ministry, we are not really more into designing houses. We are more concerned or more involved in the role of basically providing technical assistance and advice in regards to timber use. Next slide, please. Just a brief background of maybe the participants who are here who are not aware of where Fiji is. It's a small country in the Pacific Ocean, South Pacific Ocean, with a land mass of 1.8 million hectares, comprising around 300 islands with about 100 inhabited. Population estimated to be around 933,000. 87% of our land is customary owned, and 4% owned by the state, and 9% is freehold land. Next slide, please. Fiji's forest cover is about 1.1 million hectares of Fiji's land mass. It's around 61%. Our natural forests make up 82.3% of the 1.1 million hectares of forests. Our two major plantations, pine, which is Pinus caribia, and mahogany, Sweetenia macrophylla, are the two major plantation species, which comprise 7.4% and 6.2%, respectively, and followed by mangrove with 4.1%. Next slide, please. This slide basically present our log productions from 2016 to 2023. I just want to put this up just to let you know regarding the production in terms of logs that we produce in Fiji, and we are divided into three species. We have the indigenous species, which comprise we have about 28 obligatory species that we harvest under the indigenous species category. And then we have our mahogany and pine plantations. As you can see, the two plantation forests, pine and mahogany, are the backbone of the timber industry in Fiji. And our indigenous forests, we used to enjoy huge production from our native forests back in the 1970s. Now it has declined. Now we are averaging around 30,000 cubic meter for our native log production. Next slide, please. So this is our export and import figures. I just want to put this up just to show you the demand of wood use locally in Fiji. As you can see on my left is the graph regarding our export figures. And on the right side of the slide, you have the imports by commodity. We have the plywood at 34%, sawn timber 13%, and export by commodity, our highest commodity exported is wood chips and sawn timber at 22%. So looking at the previous slides and these slides, you can see the demand in Fiji in terms of wood use, both for construction and also for manufacturing in terms of furniture, manufacturing in Fiji. So our role is under the Ministry of Forestry, we still license and also monitor harvesting operations, forest harvesting operations, and also sawmilling, timber treatment plant, timber export, and timber importation. This is one of the main roles for the Ministry of Forestry, just to make sure, considering the size of Fiji and also its forest, we want to make sure that while we are promoting reforestation, replanting of forests, we also to make sure that whatever production forest we have, we make sure that it is harvested sustainably. And while we focus on sustainability in terms of harvesting, we also have the sawmilling code of practice to ensure that whatever comes out from the forest is utilized well in terms of timber use. And also we monitor timber treatment plant operations, timber export, and also importation. So one way we in Fiji's case, I can say that timber is still a preferred building material compared to other materials that are coming through the market. To us, it dates back to decades. Also, the readily availability of timber resources. As I mentioned, 85% of our land is actually customary owned. So our people, especially our indigenous people, they have access to their own forests. So mostly they use their own forest they process, harvest and process for building, for construction of houses and maybe other small infrastructure. So the ministry, how we assist our people in terms of timber use, maybe some sort of promotion, is that we also provide technical advice and assistance regarding timber use to the general public. Whoever wants advice, they always come to us, where we provide advice specifically looking at the grades. We have our own timber grading rules, which is divided into two. One is for construction and one is for finishing grades. So the general public usually comes to us for advice where it is provided by the ministry, including the testing of treated timber, training in timber grading, and also awareness and training for timber retailers. And we also do public awareness, promoting timber use through our radio talkback shows and also through televised programs. Next slide, please. So these are some of the issues and challenges. Like I mentioned, we have the reduction in experiencing reduction in log production, which is also a challenge for us, considering the demand we have now in Fiji. The demand for housing from our people, and this is also a challenge for us. As you can see, when the production is decreasing, we also experience an increase in timber importation, mostly from Australia and New Zealand, Pinus radiata species that are imported specifically for our construction markets. Yeah?
1 minute to go,
So
Mr. Belay. 1 minute.
One of the issues is selling of substandard material. Two major issues that we are facing now is the termite infestation and also the damaging cyclones. This is an area that is an issue for us, it challenges high cost of timber and also the variability in wood properties. Last slide, please. Our way forward, as I mentioned, we have two major plantation forests. We are looking at the aims for next 10 years to double their productions. We are assisting the two major plantation to double their productions in the next 10 years to meet the increase in demand for timber. And as partnership with landowners and forest companies to establish plantation forests, promote the production of engineered wood products. This is a new project for us where we are using sterile coconut palms for engineered wood products. These are coconut palms that no longer bear fruits, old coconut palms. We're actually utilizing this, and still a project at the moment to promote and also develop engineered wood products. To promote the design and construction of large timber building projects, review of forest legislation, including the National Building Code, which currently undergoing as we speak, the review of our National Building Code in Fiji, where we are providing input, where we also promote the use of timber, especially for building, and also to enhance monitoring, control, and surveillance of our forests and also wood processing operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belay. I'd first of all like to apologize to any of the presenters today whose names I have mispronounced. It is my fault more than anything. But I would like to thank all of our presenters today for their insightful views across our two themes. I'd remind all of our participants of the question and answer panel that exists. At the moment, we don't have any questions there, so I would as the moderator, take the privilege of posing two of my own questions for the themes. I would ask that in responding to our answers, the presenters keep them brief, and so that we can get through any ones that may pop up. The first question I'd pose would be to the three panel members and presenters for theme one, Mr. Fukuda, Ms. Stokes, and Mr. Lee. In the presentations, you introduced various measures to raise awareness of benefits using wood in buildings. What lessons have you learned that could be useful for countries planning to implement similar measures? Without picking anybody in at all, I might start with Mr. Fukuda as the order of presenting. Mr. Fukuda, any thoughts?
Yes, thank you for your question. So I think your question was about the most effective policy tool for wood use promotion. Is that right? So my idea is that the most effective policy tool for wood use promotion in Japan was a policy to promote wooden building in the public sector, as I explained in my presentation, which was introduced in the year 2010. Under the national legislation, the central and local government made efforts to show the symbol of wood use in public building, including city halls, schools, nurseries, hospitals, or libraries. So such movement in the public sector has stimulated the private sector to use more wood in their building. So I would suggest that the leading roles of the government would be most important. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Very useful insights. Ms. Stokes, any thoughts from Australia's perspective?
Thank you very much, Joseph. I would just like to emphasise, I expect, the broader policy setting framework that I discussed in my presentation. I think that there's a real need to work cohesively and together across government. Many of the policies that I mentioned weren't born out of one agency, but multiple. And there's a really strong need to work across those different agencies. And as my Japanese colleague just mentioned, incorporating the views of the private sector, NGOs, and I think the broader community as well, to ensure that all views are understood and heard. If we're going to incentivize this, I think that we need to understand where some of the challenges arise, and just having that open communication and understanding where everyone's perspectives are, I think is a really big step, an important step in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stokes. Valuable, making sure that voices are heard is coming through quite a lot, and presentations like today are one way to do that. Mr. Lee, perhaps a Korean perspective, what lessons or opportunities may exist that you could share with other countries if they were going down a similar pathway?
Yes, I think our first obstacle into wood use is, as I mentioned, the public misconception about harvesting wood from the beginning. So we are now trying to implement education from early age, and so we're now trying to cooperate with Ministry of Education in Korea to implement public education that wood use is actually not harming environment, but it is a way to serve in the carbon neutrality. So I think the education at an early age is the most critical factor that we need to focus on right now.
Fantastic. I think it is very important to address misconceptions at any age, but to start them from the truth is ideal. Still seeing no questions, I will take my luxury as the moderator to pose a question to the second theme, and then seek Dr. Lee, Mr. Bulai, and Mr. Nishimura's views. In some countries, and as we just heard, maybe in Korea, people believe that wooden buildings are less durable than concrete or steel ones. And we've heard today that that's not absolutely not the case. But is it enough to just show people the resilience of wood? or should we be coupling this with the engineering and physical design features that are possible with wood? I might start with Dr. Lee, your views.
Okay, thank you. And I totally agree with your opinion. So as I said in my presentation, I think we don't have sufficient experience to build with wood till now. So many people get familiar with the apartment living conditions. So it's a reinforced concrete building. So they normally think concrete is very strong and safe, and fire safety and many things. Concrete is better. So many Korean people think that. So I think in technical things we developed and many basic criterions, or we can use that, but the people don't misunderstand and misconceptions are still there. So as I told you, so the Wood Plus Tower, we must show up to people first, many landmark buildings, like Japanese cases. So my opinion is that. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Nishimura, any thoughts you might have?
Yeah, as I mentioned, under current Japanese Building Standards Act, building can be constructed using wood as long as they meet standards set by law. And whereas Japanese Building Act has become flexible due to the recent amendment so far. However, whereas in my opinion, it's necessary to use large and medium-sized wood members when building mid and high-rise building wood. These are often custom made, which increase cost and production time. And I think it's important to cooperation, as the first presenter has mentioned. Cooperation with various stakeholders important. So we need to increase the number of architects and engineers who are familiar with design method for wooden buildings. And from environmental point of view, it's also important to the wooden construction can be evaluated properly in a real estate market. It will take time to change the preference for steel and concrete, but I believe it's not impossible to tackle the issue if we move forward step by step. Thank you.
Fantastic, Nick. I think the idea of engaging architects and engineers at the beginning, so they're developing the buildings and the products with wood in mind is a brilliant one. And I did, throughout many of the presentations, the buildings that are being made from wood currently, as well as the historic ones that are 1,000 or more years old, I think do show the versatility of wood. And we just need to communicate that a bit more effectively. Perhaps, Mr. Bulai, you finished your presentation by highlighting that one of the challenges in Fiji is that wood is not seen as a resilient structure for buildings. Is there a space there where showing the design and the beauty that can come with wood, a valuable way to also address that, as well as presenting the science and the evidence for resilience of wood? I fear that Mr. Bulai has had a connection issue. That is okay. Well, other than those, I still see no questions. We have actually also just reached time for the presentation and for our webinar. I'd like to thank all of our speakers for keeping to time and allowing us to be accurate and punctual with it. It's always nice to be able to give everybody their time back and to make sure that we don't burden each other more than we need to. With that, I would just like to thank our presenters again. And in particular, I would like to thank the Government of Japan and the FCLP Secretariat for organising this event. Is the Secretariat is still on for any closing remarks? We're happy to provide those. In the absence of that, still seeing none. I'd like to close this very successful and very informative webinar and thank everybody for their time and our participants for their attention. And hopefully it has been informative. It certainly has for me. And this will be the first of many similar events going forward where we're able to see the benefits of wood in terms of construction, in developing both the construction industry, but domestic and productive forests. Thank you all and have a good evening, good afternoon, or good morning as the case may be.
Thank you. Good evening.